if you look at the victories and failures of the civil rights movement and its litigation strategy in the court, I think where it succeeded was to vest formal rights in previously dispossessed peoples, so that I would now have the right to vote. I would now be able to sit at a lunch counter and order, and as long as I could pay for it, I'd be okay. But the Supreme Court never ventured into the issues of redistribution of wealth and sort of more basic issues of political and economic justice in the society.
All right, folks, so we are back. That was Barack Obama in 2001 talking on a Chicago radio station. I bring that up and play that for you because Charles Hurt is with us, and he just wrote a great piece in the Washington Times today called Obama's Audacity of Inaction. And Charles, welcome, sir.
Good to be with you, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Were you able to hear that?
Yes, I was.
Oh, good.
It was kind of transporting to sit there and listen to it because he sounded like such a different candidate. And I speak for myself because I think you probably were wisely more skeptical back on the other side of the mountain. But I remember finding a lot of what he said to be hopeful and appealing, and to listen to that clip right there, I could have found some things to grasp onto to be hopeful about this guy, but I now know that it's a total fraud and that it's a total shakedown.
Well, you presented in your piece fact after fact or item after item of what Barack Obama, what many might have expected him to tackle, to take on, to fix, to help people with, and none of it has come to fruition.
Well, it's amazing, Steve. I don't know if you've gone back and picked up Audacity of Hope or Dreams of My Father, his two books, and you thumb through them today. Literally, Steve, it is a guffaw a page, because every page he lays out, he's either deriding a president that we've already had, or he's talking about what needs to be done, or he's talking about what he would do if he had the power. And of course, this is a guy who not only became president on a absolute mandate in terms of being, the public was behind him 1,000%. And not only that, but he also had Democrats controlling Congress. And for a time there, Democrats had a filibuster-proof majority in the Senate. So it's not like the guy can at any point say, oh, I just didn't, I had opposition. Or this guy ran the tables. And to look at what he said he was going to do and look at and to go back and look at those things, it is truly hilarious. And one of the most startling is this business about closing the income gap between the rich and the poor. This is something that he talks about throughout his books. It's a deep burning concern of his.
Yeah.
And of course, 6 years in, after again, he was running the table for years there. 6 years in, the Associated Press reports this week that for the first time in history, the median pay package for American CEOs tops $10 million a year. And when President Obama came in, these CEOs made, I believe, and I could have these numbers a little off, but they're roughly this, that American CEOs made 181 times what the workers, what regular workers made in those companies. And today, it's 252 times. So it's a massive, stark jump under his policies. And I don't know, I guess that's George Bush's fault, or maybe it's your fault, or maybe it's Fox News' fault. I don't know.
Well, yeah, no, it's interesting. You talk about, you go all the way at the end to talking about getting out of Afghanistan, and how he came up with this brilliant thing, how it's easier to start wars than it is to end them. Gee, really? And then he, that was his little dig at, of course, George W. Bush.
But also, what a snotty little thing to say if you're president of the United States. I mean, it literally is something you would expect a 7-year-old child to say to his 9-year-old brother. I mean, it's so childish. It's so small. It's, you did it first, or and then certainly, let us not forget that we got into these things, and in Afghanistan in particular, even President Obama, throughout has voiced support for the effort in Afghanistan. So for him to then, try to distance ownership of that is just, as commander in chief, is truly shocking. But it's also funny because there's also some passages in there where he relentlessly trashes Reagan left and right. I mean, Reagan was a piker. Reagan was a joke compared to Obama, and he really had a lot to say about Reagan. But he also took it to Jimmy Carter for looking like such a fool when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. I thought that kind of with Putin's behavior in Ukraine.
That didn't come back to bite too much, did it? No. But here's
no.
the thing, Charles. None of it ever comes back to bite in reality.
No, it doesn't. But I mean, that's because the media is stacked. But I mean, honestly, I can't help but think that people, a lot of good people voted for this guy, and a lot of there are a lot of good people who I think believed in what the guy was talking about, and maybe they lean to the left, but I think that they basically want things to happen. They want good things to happen, and they can't. People are not doing great right now. The average worker that he says he's going to fight for, they don't feel like anybody's fighting for him right now. And so I can't help but think that this sort of has to weigh on those people. I mean, and then there's this story this week in the New York Times where you have hospitals, charity hospitals, turning away patients because of Obamacare.
Yeah. I
mean, that wasn't supposed to happen.
No.
And yet this guy, everything he touches, I think to some degree a lot of people gave him a lot of credit for having thought through things a whole lot more than it turns out that he has. He hasn't thought about anything. He just said, okay, we're going to outlaw, insurance insurance. And he thinks that's going to work. And then, of course, now you have poor people being turned away from hospitals.
But here's the thing, Charles. I really don't think he cares. I said to Bill Kristol earlier that, and you and I have talked about over and over again, could he be this dumb, or is he dumb like a fox? Could he not know his policies are going to result in where we are year after year after year of the same policies, and he sees what's happening? Is he happy underneath, or is he outraged and alarmed and saying, oh, well, what am I going to do now? No, he's cool with the status quo. He's happy the way things are going. I don't know what the motivation is, but I think he knows what he's doing. And I said, this is the fake presidency. He fakes being a sports fan. He fakes being a White Sox fan. That's been well documented. He knows nothing about sports or the White Sox. And I think he fakes it all. And I don't think he cares. I really don't.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and I think that he is, and there's a certain amount of arrogance that comes with faking so much, for so long, and I think that that he there's certainly an alarming disconnect between how much he should care, considering the people that he claims to be wanting to fight for, and what he's actually done to them and been doing to them, and I predict it's only going to get worse. I mean, we can hope that the economy stabilizes and starts improving, and of course, when the economy improves, that will ultimately help everyone to some degree. But when you look at just where we are now, and it's clear that his policies and the policies of his party have not been helping people at all, and you don't have to look any farther than, of course, than the Obamacare law, because that's clearly hurting people, and And I don't know how the guy doesn't care. I mean, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. I would be so distraught.
Yeah, well, of course, he listens to Harry Reid, who says that all these stories are made up out of whole cloth. This Veterans Administration scandal,
Wow.
you know, you go back to 07. Yeah, I mean, as was pointed out by Megyn Kelly, he signed a bill into law which was designed to address many of these failures. Yet he claims he found out about it a couple of weeks ago on CNN. He signed that bill into law a few years ago. I mean, and he was talking about it in 07 as a candidate, and his transition team found out about it in 09. And again, you know, if he cared, he would demand answers. He would fire people. Heads would roll. But he treats it the same as the IRS scandal. He treats it the same as Benghazi. He treats it the same as everything. There's nothing there. Nothing's really happening. And don't worry, we'll find the people who got Benghazi. That's what keeps me up at night every night. You know, now he has something else to keep him up every night. But I don't think anything keeps him up at night.
Yeah, do you remember how the world was so amazed at Bill Clinton when he got into all these scandals and all this trouble? And everyone marveled at his ability to compartmentalize his life so that he would walk into one room, focus on one thing, and deal with that. And then, and you know, it would be a million miles away from the next thing that he then had to deal with. And he was able to keep 5 or 6 balls juggling, or many more than that, without ever letting, you know, the Monica Lewinsky scandal with his family, you know, bleed into, you know, whatever other situation he was dealing with. And it's like this guy has a sort of one-track mind ability to just not really compartmentalize, but just simply shut the whole world out, shut all of reality out, and he just focuses on this little delusional tunnel vision where he you know, claims that you know, makes these absurd claims like the issue that he campaigned upon and the issue which his transition team told him about never existed until he just happened to be kind of walking through the Oval Office and caught a snippet of it all.
Yeah, he happened to watch CNN, and the headline caught his eye, and that's how he. You know, now you have Mark Udall and John Walsh of Montana calling for Shinseki to resign. Now, well, I've had fine people like Ralph Peters who say Shinseki's a fine guy and he shouldn't resign, but that's not even the point. I mean, I think Democrats are now starting, and John King of CNN, and I played this bite twice today, was saying that privately Democrats are starting to say that there's incompetence here, that there's inability to deal with anything here in this White House, and a detachment here. And I think they're starting to panic, these Democrats who are going to be around a lot longer than Barack Obama, maybe.
Yeah, and of course that's where the wall will crumble, is with the you know, with the Democrats who are not as delusional as I think the president is. And it's funny because actually,
well, Nancy Pelosi might be, but and Harry Reid, but otherwise,
Nancy Pelosi wrote the book on delusion, but of course she can, because she lives in because of the district she represents. She can just say whatever she wants or do whatever she wants, and everybody is too high to actually compute for them.
All right, Charles, we got about 20 seconds. Go ahead, finish up.
But it is. I do think that the rank and file Democrats is where you're going to definitely see that start to crumble, especially as we get closer to the 2014 elections.
Great piece, folks. Obama's Audacity of Inaction, Washington Times. Charles Hurt, the one and only. As always, sir, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Steve.
Take care. It's always fun. Charles Hurt. All right, folks, so we're coming back. The panel, the Malzberg panel. Don't miss it. Right here.